I get asked a lot for roguelike recommendations, mainly because, as we know, I've played a lot of roguelike games. And most of the time, people don't just ask you, what games should I play? They ask you, what games should I play? I really like The Binding of Isaac, or I really like Slay the Spire, or Enter the Gungeon. Well, today, I'm gonna answer the age old question, if I like roguelike X, what should I play? By looking at 9 of the most popular roguelike games in the industry and providing you a lesser known roguelike game that scratches some of the same itches that I find when playing them. In the description, I'll have links to my series for each of the games we talk about so you can quickly navigate there to see more if one of them catches your eye. Without further ado, let's hop in. First up is a game that has started many people's love for the genre. You know it and you probably love it. It's The Binding of Isaac. Known for its incredible amount of content, hundreds of items, now 30 plus characters in the most recent patch, secrets, bosses, synergies, and its incredible charming theme, it's a game that has captured the hearts of many, but it's also a game that has left many people in a void upon finishing it, yearning for something more. Well, let me introduce you to a new up-and-coming roguelike, Revita. Revita is a 2D platforming pixel art roguelike that captures the essence of Isaac's synergistic items and secret hunting into a brilliant roguelike experience. With many different guns or characters to play as, Revita truly captures the Isaac feeling of no two runs feeling the same. There's tons of secrets to explore, achievements to unlock, and hundreds of relics or items that synergize together to make wacky combos and explosive builds. I'm over 80 hours into the game, and I'm nowhere close to unlocking everything it has, so the Isaac fans who enjoy a game with constant achievement hunting will fit right in here. And oh, did I mention that it literally has a built-in fishing minigame? If you're an Isaac lover, you're missing out on this amazing game. Play it today. Next up, we have my favorite deck building strategy roguelike, Slay the Spire. Slay the Spire is a tight-knit card game with 4 elegantly designed and well-balanced characters, over 100 unique relics to impact your game, and over 300 cards. Its brilliant design has inspired many other roguelike games with ideas such as its branching paths map and its ascension difficulty system. It's just one of those roguelike games that I struggle to find a flaw in. But we all get bored. And maybe we want to tackle a new roguelike deck builder. There's Monster Train, sure, but that's at times more of a tactics game than a deck builder. There's Circadian Dice, an incredible dice building game that I try to recommend at every single waking opportunity because it is truly some of the best roguelike gameplay out there. But if you're a Slay the Spire fan, you want that good deck building. So let's talk about Breach Wanderers, a lesser known brilliant deck building game that takes the style of Slay the Spire but ramps up the content to a high degree. There's 10 different unique characters with different styles of decks, utilizing over 1,200 unique cards. Yes, 1,200! What Breach Wanderers does really well is it implements true deck building by giving you the ability to edit your starting deck and start runs with synergies and combos that you come up with. There's an extensive meta progression town to the game where you scale your characters with components of the game but also unlocking cards and items. Those that know me, you know that I don't like heavy meta progression in roguelikes, but this one feels balanced and controlled where it's more meant to guide your gameplay instead of hindering your chances to win. While the animations and the overall polish don't beat Slay the Spire, the deck building mechanics and overall gameplay give it a chance in the competition and make it very worthy of checking out. Don't miss it. Dead Cells is, in my opinion, one of the most overrated roguelikes that so many people are completely obsessed with, but I'm not here to rate roguelikes. I'm here to replace them. What Dead Cells does really well on the surface is creating this charming platforming game with rich combat, but deep down, the game is really all about balancing your stats on your weapons to create the best combos to slaughter enemies in one hit. You're constantly re-rolling modifiers on weapons or replacing them to give yourself an edge against the competition. And that reminds me a ton of one of my favorite roguelikes of all time, Space Gladiators. You may recognize the art style from Brotato, the developer's now more successful second game, but Space Gladiators is still my favorite game between the two. This incredible platforming roguelike takes mechanics from games like Hollow Knight, The Binding of Isaac, and Dead Cells to create a unique game all about balancing your stats. With over 10 different stats that impact how your character plays, each item you pick up will change some of those stats positively, but also some negatively, forcing you to think closely about what you pick up and how it will synergize with your run. It's one of the only action roguelikes with a ton of decisions to make about how to best run your build. There's over 300 items you'll explore with 8 wildly different unique characters in this tightly controlled and brilliantly hand-drawn gem. It's genuinely one of my favorite roguelikes in the genre and one you must play. Luck Be a Landlord is a brilliant slot machine roguelike that took over the indie game scene due to its high numbers, crazy synergies, and wacky mechanics. I love the game, and I love its developer to death. I even have a really fun interview with him where we explored the making of the game and the design behind it. But once you've got 80 hours in Luck Be a Landlord like me, I'm ready for a new game. And if you're like me, make that new game Endgame of Devil, an incredible Luck Be a Landlord inspired slot machine dungeon crawler where you'll be playing as the bad guys, battling adventurers looking to steal your precious diamonds. You'll be drafting new enemies to fight the heroes on the grid, building combos, synergies, and collecting items to increase your damage to the extreme. There's genuinely so many builds and combinations you can do that you'll be playing for hours and never have the same run. The game is wrapped up with a really well-made difficulty ascension system that changes the way you think about your run. You also unlock these little rings that you can use as buffs in your run that you kind of mix and match to create unique and interesting builds. For $7, it's absolutely criminal to not pick this one up. Go buy it now. Now that we're about halfway through the video, half of you have probably turned it off already, so I can hit you with the weirdest suggestions that you can possibly find and my hottest take. I do not like the game Hades. I think the combat is really boring, it's a beautiful story, great graphics, good music, fun art. The gameplay is just kinda meh to me, and I understand that it's an unpopular opinion, but there's one thing about Hades that I really love about the gameplay and something that makes it stand out to me, and that's the boons. Being able to go down these paths, these big tech trees of boons, and upgrade them and improve your character by choosing these specialties to go down, and having them all themed was such an intelligent design choice for the game. And every time I think about how it's done, I realize that there is a game that does it even better to an even higher degree. In comes Nova Drift, an asteroid-busting shoot-'em-up on the surface, but a hardcore deep strategy game down below. This game brilliantly takes tech tree progression and decision making and packs it into a fun, bite-sized, fast-paced spaceship laser shooting experience. Every time you choose a tech tree to spec into, you're expanding it and creating new synergies and setting yourself up for future opportunities. There's so many decisions to make every time you upgrade your ship that you can play the game differently every single time you pick it up and have a different experience each time. It's also one of those games that's easy to pick up and play, but it's difficult to master and get incredible scores. With its many game modes and unlockable ships and upgrades, you'll keep coming back for more sweet Nova Drift gameplay. Is it weird for me to take a game like Hades, a top-down isometric roguelike, and compare it to Nova Drift? Absolutely. But will you get the similar decision-making and beautiful graphics in Nova Drift? Also absolutely. Take my word for it, you're gonna love it. Now we go from a game that I don't really like at all, in Hades, to two games that I consider to be as close to perfection as humanly possible, Spelunky and Spelunky 2. Two brilliant, brutally hard roguelikes that give you all of the items you need, the keys to the kingdom from the first second of gameplay, but still know you will die 100 times before you get your first win. It's a game of tactical platforming and resource management, a game of both pure skill and at times chaotic bad luck. I love both games to death, but sometimes I crave a Spelunky game that has a little bit more roguelike chaos, more bosses, more items, but maintaining that same spelunking style. In comes Spirit's Abyss, an amazing lesser-known Spelunky-like game that sees you taking to the mines as multiple different characters in multiple different game modes. You get the vibes of Spelunky's platforming paired with a Binding of Isaac style item synergy system that creates wacky broken builds while navigating wacky themed floors and rooms. Spirit's Abyss is one of those roguelikes where no matter what you do, the game just keeps throwing more content at you. There's even a random deck building card game as a minigame in it. I fell in love with this game at first playthrough, and while it's a bit janky, it does its inspiration proud in creating what it is, the best Spelunky-like in the genre. Play it today and play it instead of Bone Razor Minions, which is the dev's other good game, but it's a Vampire Survivors-like, so boo, but it's still pretty good. Enter the Gungeon is many people's favorite roguelike, and for good reason. Fun characters, boss fights, and giving that feeling of the Binding of Isaac, but with a little bit more bullet hell action. In comes Tiny Rogues, this brilliant little bite-sized $6 roguelike that takes the bullet hell and weapon selection of Enter the Gungeon and pairs it with the brilliant Dead Cells-like stat management. As you navigate the 10 floors of the dungeon, you'll be encountering different equipment, weapons, and loot that will change the way you play, while balancing perks that you spec into as you play. There's 12 classes in the game currently that all play slightly differently, and a pretty decent meta progression tree if that's something you're into. As I mentioned earlier, I don't really like stat-based meta progression, but the developer of Tiny Rogues has balanced the game in a way that I have never used any of the meta currency, and I still enjoy and regularly win the game because it's just balanced that well. If you're not sold, there's a huge update to Tiny Rogues coming soon that will almost double the amount of content that's already in this incredible game. New areas, bosses, classes, weapons, and even more. For $6, this is a no-brainer. Check it out, you won't be disappointed. Peglin was one of those games that blasted off in the gaming community with tons of popular streamers playing it and breaking it, and the Peglin devs continue to do amazing stuff with the game. New orbs, new classes. I really like it, but there's a little indie gem that I want to highlight that many others don't know about. This is Plinko Panic, a roguelike that on the surface just looks like a simple Plinko Pachinko style roguelike, but it has a pretty fascinating auto-battler style shop system and a ton of variety in its pinballs that make it a really fun alternative to Peglin. As you toss down these different theme pinballs into the Plinko board, you'll be collecting money, doing damage, and healing yourself as you balance improving your board, protecting yourself, and most importantly, dealing damage to your enemies. There's a couple of unique levels with unique modifiers, but really, it's just fun tossing pinballs and making crazy combos. It plays quick, it's not hard to understand, it's just kind of a dopamine rush of a roguelike game. And it's only $8, that's like a 10-piece McDonald's nugget meal. Check it out. And finally, we have a classic roguelike that is beloved by many, Darkest Dungeon. Now, I haven't played Darkest Dungeon much, but I have a general idea of how the game goes, and the concept is awesome. You have a party of travelers that you're going on missions with over a long campaign. I'm talking like 60 hours long campaign. It's a strategy game, so you're constantly balancing stats and decisions as you progress through the dungeons. It's brilliant. But sometimes you're looking for that Darkest Dungeon style strategy, party management, stat management, and chaos without the desire of starting a 60-hour campaign. In comes Brutal Orchestra, an absolutely brilliant strategy roguelike deep with rich story, lovable characters, and a whole lot of content. Seriously, I have like 40 hours in the game and I only have half of the achievements. Brutal Orchestra has you taking a party of characters through missions, similar to Darkest Dungeon, but in a condensed 30 to 90 minute roguelike run. You'll be collecting randomized items that will aid or hurt your unique party members' abilities, and balance who to bring into fights, who to leave behind, who to buy, who to kill. It's a game packed with decisions, but wrapped up in this nice little roguelike bow. What makes the game so unique is the rich story, giving you new unlocks, bosses, and characters even 40 hours deep in the game. It's an absolute work of art and one of my favorite roguelikes of all time. You gotta play it. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're interested in learning even more incredible roguelikes, my channel specializes in roguelikes and indie games, and we post all kinds of content daily. Hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know what roguelike you're looking forward to picking up and trying the most, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!